Before names or kings, there was only earth, water, and the breath of dawn. Every drop remembers the first rain that shaped our homeland. From mountain wains, the rivers carried whispers of awakening souls. The first heartbeat of a people echoed in sacred bronze.
Fire met flesh, and legend took form beneath the stars.
From love and loss we were born, half of mountain, half of sea.
Hope learned to fly across the fields of dawn.
The river remembers every voice that once called it home.
In her gaze, time folds, the past breathing into the present.
First Nation rose, carried by the rhythm of courage.
The song of hands and soil became our oldest prayer.
We became rhythm, people and pulse, earth and echo.
From one breath, 10,000 lives took form. Creation became memored, memory became destiny. A kingdom of hearts was drawn upon the morning fog. Our spirits became the sea, unbroken and eternal.
The sound of bronze carried our story into forever.
Lines of destiny traced across land, bound by unity and dream.
We are all born of one soil, one flame, one timeless song.
From sacrifice came life, from memory, light eternal.
The earth still whispers of gods that once walked among men. He was born of dragon blood, destined to guard the waters.
She carried the soul of the mountains, mother of 1,000 hearts.
When sea met sky, their love forged the first breath of a nation. Creation beguiled, not in silence, but in thunder and tenderness. From one heart, 50 children, bound by blood, bound by destiny. The first generation of Viet people took form in song and sunrise.
Half followed the tides to guard the ocean's memory. The other half stayed to cradle the mountains of their mother.
Thus heaven and earth were joined through love and longing. From scattered clans, a single heartbeat began to rise.
The spirit of unity began to breathe among the people.
The fields sang the name Văn Lang before anyone dared speak it.
Civilization bloomed quietly, like flowers after storm. We learned the sky as mirror of our fate.
Peace was born from rhythm, the everyday music of life.
Bronze carried the voices of joy and prayer through ages.
The land tested them, and they answered with endurance. The storms could not wash away what was rooted in soul.
Strength began not in conquest, but in protection.
A nation was not proclaimed. It was felt, like dawn across skin.
He would bind the tribes and name them one. And so, Văn Lang was born, the cradle of our beginning.
A name was spoken, and history began to breathe.
The first city stood where river kissed the plain.
Labor became faith, and faith became home.
Creation was a sacred act, fire shaping destiny.
Even laughter carried memory of gods.
Each carving sang of harmony between earth and sky. True power lies in walking with the humble. The lifeblood of the land flowed through their unity.
Life was a dance between hunger and grace.
Knowledge grew from listening to the voice of the forest.
Stories kept the past alive when no ink could.
Trade turned paths into threads of destiny.
Harmony became their language beyond word or border.
From each seed, the promise of tomorrow grew.
Even darkness carried the light of belonging.
Gratitude was their truest form of faith.
The first kingdom wakes again within every sunrise.
Courage was learned in silence before it was sung in war. He knew peace was fragile as mist upon water. Destiny rarely arrives without thunder.
The age of calm began to tremble.
The heart of the land began its first test. We learned courage, not by choice, but by necessity. The storm outside mirrored the storm within.
Even in retreat, spirit refused to break.
Light returned through the courage of the few.
Peace was not given, it was earned through tears.
From ruin, the will to rise was reborn.
The sky forgave, and life remembered how to sing.
Abundance became the proof of harmony restored.
A ruler's strength was measured by the joy of his land.
Each echo carried the memory of survival. Gratitude became the bridge between past and present. Hope floated gently toward the sea. Heaven and earth shared one reflection.
Even silence remembers where it came from.
The dawn of a people had truly begun. Progress was the slow poetry of survival.
The sea became both mirror and map.
They shaped the land, and the land shaped them.
Symbols became stories. Stories became identity.
The ocean rewarded those who listened with patience. Beauty was born of remembrance.
Hands carried wisdom, older than words.
In every flame, the echo of the first fire still burned.
Every generation dreams of the edge of the known.
Dreams and omens walk side by side.
Art became the language of eternity.
Creation was an act of remembering heaven's design.
He knew his people had found their voice.
The world listened, and the night answered.
Unity became rhythm, and rhythm became life.
Silence arrived, like peace after rain.
He knew the roots were deep enough to endure time. The land awakened once more to its eternal cycle.
Continuity, the quiet heroism of every day.
Peace, at last, became more than a pause.
Celebration was gratitude given voice.
Light drifted downstream, carrying memories of the dawn.
Hope was always reborn in the smallest hands.
Nature sang with them, not for them. Even joy carries the sound of change.
The horizon always whispers of what must come next.
The heavens never forget the stories they ignite. He sensed the wind of destiny stirring once again.
Every age must redraw its dreams.
He saw in the distance both promise and peril.
Change, like dawn, cannot be stopped.
Life persists through every turning of fate.
They carried the legacy of harmony forward.
The land had learned to breathe in peace.
Rest came, gentle as forgiveness.
Heaven blessed the land with memory and resilience.
He saw eternity not in empire, but in harmony.
Unity, our first and only.
Thus ended the dawn and began the journey of time. From peace, ambition was born, and from ambition, destiny stirred again.
The hands that once prayed now built walls against tomorrow's storm.
Unity demanded not comfort, but vision beyond fear.
He dreamed of a city no flood nor war could erase. Civilization began again with courage, mortar, and song. Every strike of metal echoed the heartbeat of creation.
The empire was not built by kings alone, but by countless hands, unseen.
Walls wound like dragons, circling the breath of a nation.
Life continued, even as fate prepared its blade.
Pride is the light that blinds even the wise.
Invention came with glory and with shadow.
Progress always carries the whisper of destruction.
Beauty often sings loudest before the storm. Love bloomed beneath banners of peace, unaware of fate's watching eyes.
Destiny entered quietly, wearing the face of trust.
Smiles can be sharper than swords.
Love became the bridge across which tragedy would walk.
The dragon's children would again face the tide. The peace that took centuries fell within moments.
Even courage is helpless before betrayal.
Between hearts and nations, loyalty breaks first.
The walls could not hold what the heart had already opened.
Silence became the requiem of a fallen dream.
Even in defeat, he rode toward the promise of memory.
Water remembers the truth when men cannot.
Conquest spoke in the language of smoke.
Love's last act was to return to the water that birthed her.
Legends are born where sorrow touches eternity.
The dragons slept once more, beneath ruins and regrets.
From ashes, identity hardened like bronze reborn.
Time heals land, but not memory.
Every fall becomes seed for the next rise.
New dreams walked upon the bones of the old.
He sought unity through conquest, peace through power.
The borders blurred as ambition flowed like rivers.
Empires do not ask, they arrive.
The soil learned again the taste of blood. Thunder became the anthem of an uncertain age.
Every victory was carved from sorrow.
Power devours its bearer faster than time.
The innocent always pay the price of ambition.
Love endures, even in exile.
Faith becomes clearest in ruin.
The river forgives what men cannot.
Life always returns to the patient.
Peace came not from victory, but from exhaustion.
Renewal was their silent rebellion.
Even relics of war become seeds of remembrance.
The soul of the land proved unbroken.
The heavens nodded. The spirit had survived.
The cycle of resilience continued, unseen.
What was lost could be sung back to life.
Words became bridges across centuries.
From the ashes of one age, imagination kept watch. Stillness returned as the highest form of strength.
Gratitude sustained what swords could not.
The land was fed by devotion as much as rain.
Art preserved the symbols of unity.
Leadership returned in gentler form, born of memory.
Harmony returned, carrying the wisdom of pain.
The land healed, but its lessons endured.
Reverence became the root of culture.
Reflection became remembrance. Remembrance became identity.
Knowledge was the quiet rebellion of peace.
Life bloomed again through song.
Hope rebuilt faster than stone.
Prosperity returned as a gift of endurance. Memory refused to die, even in silence.
Peace took flight, fragile yet luminous.
He swore that no foreign tide would drown them again.
The heart of Vietnam began to beat stronger again.
Renewal is the true victory of nations.
Joy returned in simple acts of labor.
Even the stars seemed to remember their names.
Every light carried a story home.
The future waited just beyond the mist.
He prayed not for power, but for endurance.
A new age of strength rose from ancient soil.
The story of survival became the anthem of a people.
Thus began the flame of independence that would never die. Peace once more gave way to the shadow of empire.
Conquest came again, wearing the silence of inevitability. A conquered people still carried fire in their gaze.
Tradition sank deep, waiting for the right dawn to rise.
The river of life became the river of endurance.
Resistance survived in the rhythm of ordinary lives. Faith became rebellion, clothed in quietness. Knowledge smoldered like coal beneath the ash of oppression. Strength was stolen, but spirit refused surrender.
Memory became the last frontier of freedom.
Storms always return where injustice stands.
The daughters of the dragon rose to reclaim the storm.
Courage wears no crown. It breathes.
The cry for freedom. Freedom became thunder through valleys. The mountains trembled. The empire shook.
Freedom demanded everything and gave back dignity.
They fought not for glory, but for memory itself. Hope burned bright, though short-lived.
For a moment, the land breathed free again.
Empires always return, but so does defiance.
Triumph is fleeting, sacrifice eternal.
Even in death, they chose freedom's embrace.
Legends sink only to rise again.
Time cannot erase what is written in heart. Faith became the bridge between oppression and hope.
Knowledge outlives every conqueror.
The people learned resistance in the language of silence. The spirit of the sisters never truly slept. Each generation inherited the flame.
A single voice can awaken a nation.
Her creed shook heaven itself.
Freedom, once learned, cannot be forgotten.
The earth itself seemed to fight beside her. Even defeat tasted of defiance.
Symbols survive when bodies cannot. Legends die, only to return in new flesh.
History turned, but the will of the land remained.
Rebellion became tradition.
The vow of freedom passed through generations like blood.
Patience sharpened their courage into steel.
Even faith learned to fight.
Oppression always grows blind to its own decay. Flames rise quickest where hope has been denied longest.
Destiny waited beyond the tides.
One man's faith can turn the tide of history.
Nature itself became the ally of freedom.
Arrogance sails faster than wisdom.
Patience became the weapon of the wise.
The river answered with justice, long delayed.
Freedom had a sound, and it was thunder.
The storm had passed. The dawn was ours again.
The scars of battle became symbols of rebirth.
Gratitude was the true victory song. Innocence returned where pain once ruled.
He vowed the land would never kneel again.
Freedom finally breathed without fear.
Culture rose from ashes, singing its own resurrection.
Memory found beauty in suffering.
Peace was finally earned through centuries of tears.
Prosperity followed freedom, like dawn follows storm.
Education became the seed of civilization.
Knowledge replaced fear as the law of the land.
Symbols became shields against oblivion.
Joy, too, became a form of resistance.
The land had remembered its own strength.
Gratitude bound the heavens and earth once more. The witness of centuries remained silent, but proud. For the first time in 1,000 years, silence was kind. A new kingdom dreamed beneath eternal constellations.
The foundation of Đại Việt began with faith, not fear.
Every wall was a prayer made solid.
Knowledge would become our next defense.
Unity turned from dream to living truth.
What he spoke not of war, but of destiny.
Freedom became festival, not just fight.
The blood of the past turned into light.
Faith endured beyond all empires.
Unity was finally written into the soul of the land.
From ashes, an empire of peace was born. The dragon of Vietnam had awakened. Each dawn carried the promise of wisdom.
Knowledge was honored as sacred flame.
Life returned to the rhythm of abundance.
Art became the memory of triumph.
Peace found its innocence once more.
Gratitude became the heartbeat of the nation. Time flowed, but the spirit of independence endured.
Beyond the waves awaited the empire of the dragon.
The dawn of Đại Việt had begun.
Unity became the nation's truest armor.
Words became the seeds of eternity.
Beauty was now built upon resilience. The dream of freedom had found its wings.
Nature and nation breathed as one.
Joy was the quiet victory of generations.
Heaven and earth reflected one story.
The land of the dragon prepared to soar.
From struggle came harmony. From pain, grace.
Thus began the empire of the dragon.
From freedom, greatness began to take shape. Faith guided the dawn of a new dynasty.
The sound of devotion became the breath of peace.
The dragon of the East had found its sky.
Creation became worship in every stroke of the chisel.
Wisdom spread like dawn through generations of silence.
Knowledge became the crown of the new age.
Dreams of peace took wing across the empire.
Faith was woven into every thread of daily life.
True rule is measured by the stillness of its heart.
Strength now sang instead of screamed.
Prosperity was born of harmony, not conquest. The foundation of empire was written in patience. Connection became the architecture of civilization.
Thought itself became an act of devotion.
Beauty became the body of prayer.
The kingdom slept in gentle order.
Destiny waited behind ink and discipline. Perfection mirrored in peace, not power.
The Golden Age was guarded by faith and steel alike. Strength without cruelty became their creed. They marched not for conquest, but to defend the sacred.
Peace trembled as thunder, gathered once again.
The Empire of Dragons faced the Empire of Storms.
He swore the river would not run backward.
Resolve was sharper than any sword. The heartbeat of a nation awakened once more.
The people carried faith even as they fled.
Courage met chaos, and neither yielded.
Brotherhood turned battle into legend.
Each spark carried the weight of generations.
Faith held the ground when armies could not. Even mountains bow to those who stand unbroken. The river defended her children with ancient rage. A leader becomes immortal when his calm outlives fear. The water once more remembered its vow of vengeance.
Freedom screamed its triumph through the thunder.
Peace returned not as gift, but as resurrection.
Greatness bows lower than pride ever can.
The land cleansed itself with forgiveness.
Joy bloomed where fear once rooted. The sound of peace echoed louder than war.
Gratitude became the crown of kings.
Prosperity was born again from sacrifice. History became poetry, written in blood and grace.
Memory took form so the future could remember.
Hope, reborn, danced in innocent light.
Peace must be tended like a garden. Harmony settled upon the land like sleep upon a child. The torch of greatness passed, yet burned the same. Wisdom wore the crown of this new dawn.
Justice became language, and language became art.
Knowledge flowed like rivers through the empire's heart.
The heavens themselves joined the dance of enlightenment.
Beauty became the nation's quiet power.
Merit replaced birth as the measure of worth.
Education became the song of the people.
Equality was whispered in the laughter of contentment.
Art turned memory into eternal breath.
The heart of Đại Việt pulsed with golden rhythm.
The body of culture moved with divine grace.
Music carried the soul of 1,000 generations. Every word was a reflection of heaven.
Rulers of light, rule first their own hearts. Joy connected heaven and earth through light.
Even stars seemed jealous of their glow.
Memory flowed onward, luminous and calm.
Words and rain, both cleansing the soul of a nation.
Time bowed before the golden age of Đại Việt. Civilization expanded like sunlight through mist.
The ocean carried our culture beyond its shores.
Respect was the currency of wisdom.
The heavens guided both farmers and kings.
Nature obeyed the peace of the enlightened.
Stillness became the empire's greatest strength.
The art of letters became the art of life. The land itself was poetry written by time.
Harmony was celebrated as much as harvest.
Compassion held the throne of the heart.
The dragon slept, not in power, but in peace.
Knowledge guarded the empire better than armies.
Thresh the rice now, the day is long past noon.
Simplicity remained the root of greatness.
The spirit of light belonged to everyone.
Humility was the perfume of true power. Eternity hummed softly in every note.
Justice was written not to rule, but to remind.
Beauty became the daily face of peace. Even the sky learned from the patience of the land.
The light of Đại Việt shone beyond its borders.
Reason and wonder walked hand in hand.
Wisdom became the empire's true architecture.
Every breath of nature
whispered of gratitude.
The past taught rhythm to the future.
Faith watched quietly when all else slept.
Words were her bridge between time and soul.
Grace fell upon the land like evening rain.
Civilization had become a living symphony. The age of light prepared for its twilight. Even glory must learn to bow before time. Greatness calls forth its own test. The land reminded its children of fragility. Nothing built by man escapes the patience of decay.
Wisdom falters when pride refuses to listen.
Shadows return when light forgets humility.
Compassion endured where law could not. The people once again carried the nation's soul.
Life never waits for permission to return.
Even in ruin, harmony hums softly.
Repentance became the first act of renewal.
Knowledge rekindled the empire's fading flame.
Renewal always walks in silence.
Peace returned, disguised as routine.
Faith rebuilt faster than stone. True strength was measured in mercy.
The people learned again to find joy in light.
The night sky found its reflection in their joy.
Time forgave what history could not.
Hope, once fragile, had become tradition.
The land and its people breathed as one eternal rhythm.
Peace allowed thought to bloom.
Art became a mirror of compassion.
The melody of survival became everlasting.
Love carried the oldest stories.
Freedom was now both prayer and practice. Harmony filled the empire like light through leaves.
The promise of tomorrow walked beside memory. Imagination became the final victory of peace.
The golden age of Đại Việt glowed into legend.
Greatness is not conquered, it is remembered.
The soul of 1,000 years lay in quiet radiance.
Peace became timeless suspended between earth and sky.
The echo of enlightenment never fades.
Thus ended the golden dynasties, but not their light. Light yields to shadow, only to return again.
The world turned, preparing its next chapter.
Every age of peace births the next trial. The era of calm began to tremble. Light refuses extinction. It endures through darkness.
Thus began the shadows and the storm.
The river carried both memory and mercy through ages of peace.
Knowledge bloomed wherever humility knelt.
Light multiplied itself through innocent hands.
His reign reflected not might, but measured grace.
The heavens themselves seemed to bless the land below.
Harmony lingered like fragrance at the edge of night. Art turned devotion into breath and movement. Every ending is but the pause before renewal.
Civilization rested, luminous within its own reflection. Beyond the golden peace, storms prepared their return. Peace began to fade, replaced by whispers of pride and division.
Wisdom fractured when voices forgot to listen.
Brothers divided by the same blood, chasing different dawns.
Unity drowned, yet the spirit refused to sink.
The cost of pride was written in fire and tears.
Even those who fight remember to weep.
The sky itself seemed to mourn their fury.
Power without harmony is merely exhaustion.
Prayer became the last refuge of a broken heart.
Even victory tasted hollow when kin was the enemy.
Beyond division, new horizons awaited. Expansion became redemption, new land for weary hearts.
The nation stretched its roots toward the south.
The river of culture flowed freely once more.
Faith followed every footstep of the frontier.
Leadership was born again from exile and endurance.
The edge of the land became the edge of hope.
Knowledge endured, even when walls did not.
The land itself
grew with its people's will. Stillness returned, but the wound remained open.
Curiosity opened doors that fate would soon close.
The price of progress was written in iron.
Fear disguised itself as wisdom once more. The horizon carried the scent of empire.
The age of conquest returned, wearing new colors.
History burned, yet its ashes glowed with defiance.
Love remained the last fortress, unbroken.
Survival demanded the surrender of pride.
The land of light entered its longest night.
Faith whispered beneath boots of power.
Knowledge chose martyrdom over silence. Resistance returned like roots beneath the soil. Loyalty awakened, calling sons to defend the unseen.
Courage no longer needed crowns.
Compassion walked side by side with defiance.
The empire struck at stone, but could not kill the spirit. Defeat became pilgrimage, not end.
The mothers of the land became its warriors.
Ancient sound returned to guide the living flame.
Words traveled where armies could not.
Education became rebellion in whispers.
Stone spoke louder than mercy.
The dead answered with silence, and silence endured.
Life refused to stop for war. Oaths outlived chains.
The torch of tomorrow flickered in secret hearts.
Memory remained the nation's only flag. The storm had passed, but its shadow lingered. After darkness, the heart still sought direction.
Life always returns, quietly and unstoppable.
Hope does not vanish. It changes shape.
Renewal began with calloused hands.
Legends became inheritance, carried in lullabies.
Peace returned softly, like breath after tears.
The ancient pulse still beat beneath the silence.
Dawn, fragile but fearless,
rose once more.
Unity survived every empire's passing.
The spirit of Vietnam endured the shadows, awaiting the fire of freedom.
Empires fade, yet the scent of home endures. Beneath the conqueror's gaze, resilience hid behind quiet eyes.
Words became weapons when swords were forbidden. Knowledge turned captivity into awakening. Education arrived, dressed in contradiction. Salvation and control entwined. Minds wrestled where armies could not.
你将养的，切谨记它。
Truth learned to whisper beneath the sound of machines.
Hope crossed oceans faster than ships.
Memory prayed for justice yet unborn.
Revolution first ignites in silence. A single voice dared to challenge centuries of chains.
Ideas became lanterns, guiding a captive nation.
Exile became education.
Hope floated upon salt and sacrifice.
Love protected the dream, even when law forbade it. Meaning survives even when erased.
Fear walked the roads, but courage hid in every home.
The ember of rebellion refused to die. Resistance was baptized by storm.
Freedom found its voice, even behind bars.
Power cannot see what it fears to understand.
They built the path that would one day carry revolution.
Language became rebellion, disguised as lullaby.
Memory guarded the gates of time.
Courage wore the face of the everyday.
Pride knelt, but the heart refused. Nature echoed the unrest of its children.
Thought became the revolution's first weapon.
Change must come through awakening, not anger.
A nation begins when minds unite.
The rhythm of steel carried both oppression and hope.
Truth survived by walking unseen.
Laughter became a weapon sharper than blades. Sweat carved the future from stone.
Innocence carried the echo of chains.
The storm waited patiently beyond glass.
faith sowed seeds no empire could uproot. Hope once again found its reflection in water. The river remembered everything and forgave nothing.
The storm had not ended. It had only gone silent before the fire.
A quiet dawn returned, carrying the promise of renewal.
Words once whispered, now demanded to be heard.
Freedom began in the language of the heart.
A symbol rose where fear once ruled.
One voice carried the weight of 1,000 years.
The nation awoke, calling its own name.
Hope bowed before memory, asking to be worthy.
The smallest hands held the biggest dreams.
Freedom's first breath met the chill of empire. The land of peace once again learned the language of war.
The poor carried the burden of the brave.
Love became the quietest kind of courage. The forest turned guardian. The night turned ally. Necessity shaped miracles from mud and flame.
Every step was a verse in the poem of survival. Mountains themselves roared in defiance.
History bowed before the courage of the barefoot.
Victory arrived not with triumph, but with tears. Peace came divided, fragile as paper.
One nation, two hearts beating apart.
Prosperity came wrapped in promises, not its own.
Hope labored with bare hands and endless faith.
Hope labored with bare hands and endless faith.
Youth became the conscience of the world.
Heaven wept as steel fell upon earth.
The ground itself became sanctuary.
Compassion survived even in hell.
Innocence endured beneath the trembling earth.
Shadows learned the art of patience.
Music carried the heartbeat of a divided soul.
Knowledge remade the quiet rebellion.
Life refused to surrender to chaos.
The century storm reached its full fury.
Compassion proved stronger than ideology.
History trembled beneath its own weight.
The body burned, but the soul became eternal fire.
Truth cannot be silenced when spoken in flame.
Even the heavens grew weary of war.
Love gave courage its reason.
Faith carried what the body could not.
Every ending is written in ash and hope.
Silence followed victory, heavy and unreal.
Reunion hurt as much as separation.
Freedom arrived, too vast to comprehend.
The river accepted both past and forgiveness.
Healing began, one seed at a time.
The sound of faith returned to the air.
Light finally reclaimed its true meaning.
Surrender became sanctity, not defeat.
The nation rose again through the strength of hands.
Knowledge, at last, was safe to speak aloud.
Loud.
Peace settled upon the land like morning fog.
Reconstruction became the new revolution.
Simplicity returned as the highest luxury.
Growth was the quiet anthem of peace.
Safety became the first duty of peace.
Abundance returned, humble but honest.
The past emerged again to bless the present.
This lotus flower covers the deepest scar.
It shows that beauty can return.
Forgiveness took flight on gentle wings.
Under the shade of this ancient tree, we speak the words of tranquility.
Memory turned from wound to wisdom.
Joy returned, modest yet radiant.
The heavens blessed what survived.
Peace was found in the rhythm of the ordinary.
Divisions of land healed through human hands.
The new generation played with the reflection of peace.
Beauty became the truest proof of survival.
The past and present walked side by side.
Education turned victory into legacy.
Art remembered what war tried to erase.
culture reawakened as the soul's inheritance.
Everyday life became the greatest celebration. The river of tears had turned into a river of light.
Gratitude replaced grief in their eyes.
Unity glowed brighter than any flame of war.
Ancient rhythm met modern dawn.
Generations touched through shared soil.
The future listened through the voice of the past.
The land, once broken, now breathed as one.
Modern light rose upon ancient dreams. Connection became the new form of courage.
Innocence finally sang without fear.
Art became the quiet continuation of history.
Abundance was the sweetest victory.
The wind that once carried war now carried promise.
The nation glowed with both memory and motion.
Knowledge became the truest inheritance of freedom. Nature whispered, and the land listened.
Peace had finally learned to stay.
The eternal flow of life returned to harmony.
Celebration replaced mourning under the same sky.
Renewal danced within every drop of light.
The land exhaled centuries of struggle.
The promise of tomorrow was already shining. Unity had become a way of life. Memory stood eternal, polished by time.
From struggle came harmony. From pain, light.
Fire became freedom, and freedom became peace.
Time breathes, and the land remembers every heartbeat. Peace has become the rhythm of ordinary grace. Every sound carries the weight of centuries.
Each flame is a prayer that the past forgives itself.
The soul of the land still soars unseen. Modern dreams dance with ancient reflections.
The young rebuild what memory preserved.
Harmony found its home again in human hands.
The guardians of war now nurture peace.
Faith flows quietly, where fire once roared.
The sky itself bows to the endurance of this land.
The river, once crimson, now sings in silver.
Love reclaims what fear once silenced.
Innocence glows brighter than history's weight.
Nature paints what the heart cannot speak.
The journey itself became the destination.
Memory turned into celebration beneath the stars.
Peace found its permanence in simplicity. Healing became an art form of its own. The current of life never stops remembering. The beauty of silence teaches what words cannot.
The rhythm of survival became a hymn of peace.
Freedom once fought for now flies with laughter.
Harmony endures through contrast, not control.
Birds bloom again, tender as dawn.
Eternity lies where light touches sea.
Every return is a kind of victory.
Gratitude outlasts every empire.
Freedom once again takes the shape of wings. The land itself breathes in peace.
Memory lives on, not in sorrow, but in light.
1,000 years condensed into a single breath.
The present glows upon the shoulders of eternity.
Yesterday and tomorrow embrace in one reflection.
Hope now wears the colors of innocence.
Celebration became the nation's heartbeat.
Solitude became communion with the past. The first song of the nation still hums within the bronze.
Even the sea bows before endurance.
Dreams ascend where once smoke rose.
The heart of Vietnam beats in every direction at once.
Time dissolves, leaving only gratitude.
Generations pass the same silent vow. Endure, love, remember. Even the ruins have learned to forgive.
The journey never ends. It only changes form.
Light now speaks in harmony, not in fire.
Nature guards the secret of eternity. The ancient heartbeat joins the sea of tomorrow.
Memory becomes light, and light becomes forever.
From legend to light, the soul of a nation still shines.